Yep, this is video of a cat stopping a hunter-predator drone. Yep, talk about divine intervention, which a lot of people are saying we need now more than ever when it comes to trying to stop this utterly crazy and ridiculous proxy war that's unfolding right now inside of Ukraine, as we have some very surprising statements from the current president of the United States about this very crazy ongoing conflict that, of course, he looks to, of course, end, as geopolitically we are at our wits' end when it comes to this larger travesty of injustice that should have never began. But it has, and it represents a larger kind of clash of civilizations that is important to talk about as much as it is important to kind of pressure and push people to try to end, which it looks like Donald Trump is trying to do, as now it looks like the ball is in the court of Vladimir Putin, who is not acquiescing, as it looks like the negotiations have officially begun, and they are fascinating to look at, as what we are seeing is really, I think, the art of the deal. That's fascinating to see as it unfolds in real time, as, of course, Donald Trump just had this to say at the Davos World Economic Forum, specifically about the larger peace deal that he is trying to broker himself.
Allies and beyond allies. One thing very important, I really would like to be able to meet with President Putin soon and get that war ended. And that's not from the standpoint of economy or anything else. It's from the standpoint of millions of lives are being wasted. Beautiful young people are being shot in the battlefield. You know, the bullet, very flat land, as I said, and the bullet goes, there's no hiding. And a bullet, the only thing going to stop the bullet is a human body. And you have to see, I've seen pictures of what's taken place. It's a carnage, and we really have to stop that war. That war is horrible.
Absolutely. Way too many young Slavic men have lost their life. For what? What's the purpose? Why continue such reckless, aggressive, ever so insane policies that are bringing us on the brink of nuclear war? Well, there's also the larger possibility of denuclearization, which Donald Trump could bring forward towards the world, which would take us off of this larger edge of apocalypse, end of civilization type of events that we keep teetering very close to. And people don't understand just how freaking close we are coming to an all-out global nuclear war. That, to me, is just insane to fathom that there even is a percentage, there even is a chance that we're being brought so close to this, as, of course, we were brought very close to this under the Biden administration, which, of course, failed in their political leadership, as Donald Trump looks like he also sent a very ominous kind of threat to Vladimir Putin in a Truth Social post, essentially warning him that there's going to be more sanctions, there's going to be more tariffs, and there's going to be a very difficult time for the Russian economy if there is no deal made here, highlighting how the ball is in the court of Vladimir Putin, and it looks like Vladimir Putin isn't agreeing, and Donald Trump, you know, contrary to popular belief, is actually putting the pressures on the Russians in order to acquiesce here. Because whenever you have these types of peace deals, whenever you have these types of negotiations, you always have some kind of deal being made here that both sides aren't going to be happy with. How are we going to make both sides come to the table and agree to something that they don't want? That's essentially what's happening right now, and it's a very difficult situation, and it looks like Donald Trump is playing it in a very kind of strategic way, saying to the Russians, like, hey, we're going to make sure that we're going to get this done, or else it's just going to be more economic devastation for you. As, of course, the Russian economy now has opened up more to China, more to India, more to Iran, but still it significantly is being impacted by the lack of trade that, of course, is being denied to them through these larger economic pressures that the United States is waging against them. Now, on the other foot, we have Volodymyr Zelenskyy that suggested the use of U.S. troops inside of Ukraine, specifically for peacekeeping purposes, as he had this to recently announce that raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people are like, wait, he's calling for troops there to fight. He has previously said that the United States, needs to get involved because they will be involved either way when Biden was president. Now, it looks like he is open up to, of course, these larger peace deals and negotiations, and he is talking about having U.S. troops there as peacekeeping troops to prevent a conflict from unfolding if already there's a peace deal that is made here. These are his comments in broken English that weren't represented the best.
It's great if we will have troops, but we have to understand that the troops will not be in the center of the capital.
Yes.
They will not have relaxed time. Yes, it's very important, because I heard that some allies said that, yes, but it's okay, we can be in the center of some city, and then no, we don't need such contingent.
You want them at the front line?
Yes, with our people, of course. Yes, because this means security, and that's it. So, but it can't be. It can't be without the United States. I will explain you why. Even if some European friends think that it can be, no, it will not be. First of all, nobody will risk without the United States. The second, that's what can divide NATO, divide EU and USA. That is a goal and dream of Putin, to divide this unity.
Well, it's fair to say here that this larger proposition, I hope, doesn't happen, but there are larger conversations about buffer zones being set up, demilitarized zones being set up, and having countries like China and Russia, and China and the United States having their own troops there that will be there to, of course, peacekeep and prevent larger conflicts from escalating. As now, I think there's a larger negotiations about territories, about what will be Russian territory, what will be Ukrainian territory, who will concede land. As Vladimir Putin has publicly stated, we could end the war right now, but we keep everything that we invaded. And that's why Ukraine did the very kind of risky Kursk offensive in the north of Russia, which also escalated tensions very dramatically, but also leveraged them in order to negotiate this larger peace deal. As of course, we have to understand here, the Biden administration and other NATO countries have been trying to prevent a peace deal from happening, just like they have been preventing for a very long time. Now that Trump's in there, he's speaking a big game and promising to end this, but it looks like the negotiations are just increasing here and definitely getting interesting, to say the least here, as Volodymyr Zelenskyy also talked about how $250 billion of frozen Russian assets should be used immediately to buy up more Ukrainian weapons, as of course that is another leverage point that Trump has to, of course, go to the Russians and say, hey, we can unfreeze a lot of your money. Let's just make a good deal here for everyone. That's what we hope happens here. And it looks like Trump is trying to do that, as the Daily Mail is even reporting that Russian sources are admitting that Vladimir is under pressure to accept a Ukrainian peace deal, as there are backdoor room dealings right now and conversations that have been happening ever since Donald Trump won the presidency of the United States. Now, there are economic pressures that Russia, of course, is dealing with here, as this war is just absolutely insane, but it's also wreaking havoc not just on the Russian economy, but the global economy. If this war ends, then of course we will be helping out everyone tremendously here, as the NATO chief also came out and said that he's very happy that Trump is leveraging sanctions against Russia in order to bring them closer towards a negotiated peace deal here. So it looks like overall, the ball is right now in the Russian court. How will Vladimir Putin respond? We'll tell you hypothetically in a little bit. But before we do, check out wearechange.shop. We got a lot of great stuff out there that is top of the line, the best in the industry, and truly, whatever ails you, we probably have a solution for it. Do your own research, do your own homework, get the ultimate bundle just to be sure to cover all ends here. But check out our store. It's a great way to help yourself, help us, and also, more importantly, propel this independent media organization. As of course, no matter what your issue is, we probably have a solution for it. And truly, more than ever, especially in these very tumultuous times, it's important to take care of your health, yourself, and more important, to make decisions that are going to be important for you to make on a one-on-one individual basis, since there still is a larger possibility of these peace deals not working and for the world to be put in a more precarious situation. Now, of course, Donald Trump is doing everything he can to prevent that. But again, we're dealing with a very unpredictable kind of Russian foreign policy that a lot of people said, we figured out. They're never going to invade Ukraine. And then guess what? They invaded Ukraine here. So it's important to still do our due diligence here. It's important to pay attention to everything that's going on here, as many European countries are warning about unconventional alleged Russian attacks. Germany specifically warned about heightened security threats, especially with drones being flown over military installations in their country that they are blaming on Russia. Is it Russia that's doing this, or is it somebody else here? As of course, there's new forms of war there that are hybrid forms of war that go after infrastructure, that go after local populations. There's fourth and fifth generational warfare that are important to kind of talk about and consider here, especially when it comes to the larger sphere of influence that clearly NATO wants to push closer and closer to Russian borders, especially now with what happened in Romania, which is highlighting more kind of finagling there by the European Union and probably the CIA trying to bring Romania closer to the sphere of influence of the West rather than, of course, Russia, as a lot of people are looking at Romania as the next potential Ukraine, as the next potential place for a Maidan revolution. And a lot of this is just ridiculous. We got to ask ourselves, why are we doing this? What's the benefit of this? Why is this somehow in America's geopolitical interest? Well, it's not. Global trade, peace is. Being sure that there's going to be maybe a tech race with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and decentralization and intelligence and space travel. That right there is for the benefit of all humanity. Doing a weapons race, building the latest and greatest devices to maim and destroy all of humanity, that's just insanity. And that's the common norm. That's something that we've been doing for quite a while, and it's not advantageous to us. It's advantageous to the military-industrial complex. It's advantageous to all the war hawks out there. It's advantageous to all the really horrible individuals out there that want more war, that want more bloodletting and sacrifices, and I think we had enough of it. As the Russians are developing and building space-based launch missile platforms that are concerning, to say the least here. As of course, the United States is doing the same here, but it looks like Donald Trump is trying to recall a lot of this, as he has even called for Russia and China to fully get rid of their nuclear weapons. He made a statement before becoming the president of the United States saying, hey, I actually was close towards making sure that there was going to be no nuclear weapons on this earth, which is a pretty crazy statement. Everyone's like, that's pretty crazy. He reiterated those statements at Davos today. And these are big statements. These are statements that I think if he accomplishes, he could go down as one of the most important diplomatic leaders in the history of the world. If you're willing to get rid of nuclear weapons everywhere around the world, that's a legacy that can't be beat by anybody. And truly, magical, really important stuff here in the works here that we hope and pray is going to be successful. Here's the comments from Donald Trump earlier today about this very specific, important detail that I think is worth looking into.
But we always had a great relationship, I would say, and we look forward to doing very well with China and getting along with China. Hopefully, China can help us stop the war with, in particular, Russia, Ukraine. They have a great deal of power over that situation. And we'll work with them. And I mentioned that during our phone conversation with President Xi. And hopefully we could work together and get that stopped. We'd like to see denuclearization. In fact, with President Putin, prior to an election result, which was frankly ridiculous, we were talking about denuclearization of our two countries, and China would have come along. China has a much smaller right now nuclear armament than us, or field than us, but they're going to be catching it at some point over the next 4 or 5 years. And I will tell you that President Putin really liked the idea of cutting way back on nuclear. And I think the rest of the world, we would have gotten them to follow. And China would have come along too. China also liked it. Tremendous amounts of money are being spent on nuclear. and the destructive capability is something that we don't even want to talk about today.
Yeah, and Trump has warned about that. He's one of the few people, along with, of course, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and other people being like, this is insanity, that we could blow up the world many times over. Why are we threatening each other with this when we could be doing other things that are more productive for free humanity? The United States is the leader in nuclear weapons. We have the most amount of nuclear weapons. Russia is close to that, but when it comes to modernization and use of it, the United States is the world leader. And if the United States says, hey, okay, we'll take our advantage off the table, that's going to have Russia and China say, okay, yeah, that sounds great. But that's also not just in detriment to the United States. It's in favor of world peace and ending this larger technological advancement that is extremely dangerous and essentially gives people the power to kill all of humanity. Nuclear war is terrifying. And if Donald Trump achieves this, the greatest leader in world history. There's no other way to say it. So having these conversations, I mean, these are conversations that the hippies were starting in the 1970s. In the 1960s, hippies were like, stop, end the nuke, stop the war. Donald Trump, the Republican, conservative, right-wing guy, is issuing those same statements. Hell yeah, this is important. This is key. He finished off his statement by saying this.
Because you don't want to hear it. It's too depressing. So we want to see if we can denuclearize, and I think that's very possible. And I can tell you that President Putin wanted to do it. He and I wanted to do it. We had a good conversation with China. They would have been involved, and that would have been an unbelievable thing for the planet.
Yep. Absolutely agree. If you agree too, share this video with your friends and family members. It's more important than ever. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys subscribing, clicking the notification button, and allowing us to grow and expand as much as we are doing our best to grow and expand. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more on youtube.com/wearechange.